tutti se vedere, caira batu suere matre spura, tacere di Pirica tutte rispagliano gente, su cui amato scena, te pacutro spirato, ancora. Cucina ma sulla ieri sera, te pacutro spagnato, te tutto.
Hi, everyone. And at the table today, we have myself, Vox Angeles, and Andona Sananda Kumara. And we would like to welcome Lola Singer to the Light Language Conversation. And we are so happy to have you join us.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Welcome, Lola. It's so exciting to have you here. I'm so familiar with your work. I'm excited for everyone else to get familiar with you too. I love what you do, and I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome to the table.
Thank you.
Well, I think we'll just start it off simply by asking, how did this all start? How did it begin for you? And how did you kind of evolve into speaking and utilizing light language?
Okay, well, it was in 2011 that I first experienced light language, and I had absolutely no idea what in the world was going on. I made a commitment. I was at a job that was really draining my energy, so I made a commitment every day when I get home, I'm going to meditate. I'm going to start working on me because I was stressed and I wasn't enjoying my work. So I made a vow to myself that I would do that. And so I was, I was new to it. I was like the least spiritual person you ever met at that point. I was literally going to do what my friend did, which was he was a card carrying atheist. He actually sent away for a card that said he was a card carrying atheist. And I went, that's a great idea. I am too, all this, I thought I knew it all, I was college educated. I know about the empirical method. You got to prove it to me. It's got to be valid and it's got to be reliable and it's got to be replicable, right? So, I'm going on my life and it just isn't feeling right. So every day I was coming home and meditating. And one day, I remember the birds were chirping and I was meditating and my fingers started moving. And they were moving in this beautiful way that was like a ballet. And, it's almost an out of the body experience because I was watching my hand. And then the other hand replicated it perfectly, it was very intricate. And it was like it matched. And, if you consciously moved your hands and then tried to move it perfectly at the other end, you can't do it. So it was just like, well, this is remarkable. And I started moving energy. I could feel the hands were shifting things. I go, hey, I'm getting good at this meditation thing. So that I knew I could feel the energy changing in my body and I could tell, higher energy was coming in. I was moving the stuff that needed to go out and the hands were helping me. And so every night when I got home, that was so fun. And then all of a sudden the hand movements were joined by sounds. And of course, when you first start, I didn't know anything about light language, but I was doing toning. And if anybody does toning themselves, that really shifts energy in your body. So then I was doing the hand signals with the toning. And that turned into me doing consonants. So, and this is interesting. I'm going to ask your people in the audience. I started to do consonants, and when you do these consonants, they feel different. So I was ba 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 feels very different to ka 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 ka. And so that's all I was doing, you know. So the humming and the hand movements and the consonants, and then lo and behold, the humming turned into singing, and I was singing in a language I had never heard before. But I knew it was doing the same thing as the toning does, right? It was shifting energy. The hands were helping with that. I had learned beforehand because a friend of mine, his Kundalini awoke, and he showed me how he had the jolts. And so I knew my Kundalini had awakened because I was doing the jolting as well at the same time. So, and I had read on a website about Kundalini that people tap into like these energy bubbles of what people in the past have done to deal with their Kundalini and keep it moderated and moving in a way that works for their best benefit. So I had read that, you know, sometimes people go into spontaneous yoga positions. They've never done yoga before. And I had read that some people start speaking in ancient tongues, identifiable ones, you know, because they're tapping into this thought bubble. So they might start speaking perfect Sanskrit or perfect Hebrew. And I went, well, I wonder what language that was. Maybe it was Sanskrit. Maybe it was Hebrew. The songs were really upbeat. They sounded like gypsy music. Or, well, maybe it's a dialect of the Romani people. I don't know. So I started listening to, you know, going to the computer and listening to all these different languages being spoken. I go, it's not that one. It's not that one. It's not that one. But I knew I was onto something because I had read that before, right? But I had never, I didn't even know what light language was. Okay, this is 2011. I don't think a whole lot of people did that either. So I was looking for answers, and my friend who'd had the Kundalini awakening had gone to a person who channels. And I went, well, you know, I'm not getting answers on my own, so let me talk to the channeler. So I asked, you know, what is it that I'm speaking? And then, of course, you know, the person who was channeling said, oh, I need to hear it. And I did. And thank gosh, he said, well, you're speaking one of many different dialects of light language. Actually, he used the term language of light activation. And I went, so I experienced it first, but had absolutely no concept what it was other than that I knew I could feel it in my body. I knew it was high vibe. I knew it was part of my meditation. I knew it was part of me doing my shadow work and bringing in more higher light. And I'd had that little clue about, you know, when your Kundalini rises, you know, some of the things to expect. But thank goodness somebody finally gave me the label. Because once I knew what it was, I could work with it. And so I kept, I was very, oh my gosh. I sing in light language, and I was really shy about it. And I reached out to someone who I actually had readings with before, who's what you guys might even have heard of her because she's been doing light language for decades. Have you guys heard of Reverend Eva Marquez? She's a Palladian channel. Anyway, I reached out to her. I didn't tell her, I just booked a reading, and I didn't tell her I did light language at all. And that's the first thing she picked up on with me, even though she didn't know me. It was like, there's something about your voice, your voice. And then so she is the one who pushed me to go public with it. And she said, I've had a lot of people come to me who think they're speaking light language, and they might not be, but you're the real deal, she said to me. So she pushed me to start a YouTube channel. And my gosh, I was so scared. I was so frightened. I was shaking in my boots. Because I thought people were going to give me nasty comments, you know, but she really was pushing me. And then at the same time, I was born and raised in Seattle, and there was a meetup group for metaphysical people to come gather and talk and get support. So I was really excited. I went to this meetup. I go, finally, I'm going to meet some other people who do light language, right? And so everybody introduces themselves in the room. Not one person mentioned light language. They get to me. I go, I'm doing light language. And the person running it was just like, okay. Nobody seemed to be interested. Nobody seemed to know what it was. And it was like, dang, in a big city like Seattle at a metaphysical group, I can't find anybody to talk to. But the people who were sponsoring the meeting, the meeting place, came to talk to me and said, please keep coming to our meetings. And they're one of the people who owned the building pushed me to do it in public for that space. So I got pushes to go public online and public in person. Yeah.
So
So
beautiful. I had a question for you that had popped up that I wanted to ask while I'm holding it. You did mention earlier about the speaking in tongues, and I'm kind of curious from your perspective if you feel that they are similar, same, or different in regards to like the speaking in tongues and, speaking light language or the language of light.
I would say they're similar. And I wish I had a copy of it. I read it. There was like a German study that studied the Episcopalian. I'm sorry, not the Episcopalian. I can't think of the name of the church, right? That does the speaking in tongues. Pentecostals. They got some people who were from the Pentecostal church and they registered their brain while they were speaking in tongues. And what I love about it is they found it bypassed the left brain completely. So it's entirely a right brain function. So there's no labeling. It's just pure flow. So that's why I think it's similar to light language, but their goal is to go into an ecstatic state. Right. So that's why it's not the same. Light language can be very subtle. It can be very gracious. It can be very soft. It can be very loud and militant as well, depending on the intention. And so their intention is solely to go into an ecstatic state. Whereas with light language, and this is something took me a long time to figure out is so important. You need to have an intention for the light language. And I know people kept trying to tell me that. And I'm going, oh no, I'm just going to free flow it like a hippie, And then finally I did get it. If we have an intention, the sound is going to match that intention, number one. And number two, it's going to get delivered to where we intend it to go. If we freeform it, the energy's scattering and anybody or anything can scoop it up. Okay, that could be malevolent or benevolent. Either way, anybody or anything could scoop it up. So their intention is to go into an ecstatic state. But if we set a different intention and use our light language, it's going to reflect, at least in my experience, reflect that intention. So we have more versatility because we can actually set the intention to do something beyond going purely into an ecstatic state.
Well, it's very interesting because I don't know that I've thought of it in, not about your description of it, but when you were talking about having an intention with light language, because otherwise it just goes out and anything can pick it up. I don't know. That's really interesting, actually, to consider. I've always had an intention of some sort. It's never been like a concern or like really a thought of mine. And I'm curious, Andona, what you think about that.
I've never given it thought. Because, I've never given it thought because before I started speaking light language, I had someone tell me, you speak light language, right? But I was so coached up before that time to always center in the heart space because my fear lied in a different area because I didn't know who I would be connecting with. So when I first started to open up, that was my main concern. So I made a point of making sure I got in the heart space every time I would get clued in. So it was kind of natural for me to set the stage before I went into that space of bringing through any light language. So laced from the heart, guided by the heart or just open within that space of heart-centeredness, I never had a concern for what might pick it up, because I felt like everything was in alignment with that specific resonance of heart-centeredness. So I never thought of it in that way. Yeah.
But that is an intention.
Yeah, it is. It exactly is. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was just letting it rip. And people I
Yeah.
know who were in the metaphysical community, they kept, probably for a couple years, I wasn't listening to them. It was like, no, it's
Yeah.
light language. It's beautiful. No, nobody's going to try to mess with that. And it's like, oh, okay, I get it. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So why not set an intention?
Right. Right. So here's a question that came up for me when you first started sharing your story, is that you went from being totally in that atheist side of things, not spiritual at all, to meditating and beginning movement. When that movement started to happen, what did you feel? Did you feel any fear? Because fear, like people who've never been exposed to this type of thing, most people are instantly overcome with a sense of fear because they don't know what's happening. It's completely unknown. Did you have that fear, and how were you able to work through that?
Good question. I did not have
Yeah.
any fear because it felt so good, number one. I mean, I knew what was happening with my body. But number two, my guides, I will always thank them, thank them that I had an example of someone who had their Kundalini awakening being shown to me before mine did. So it was like, oh, I know what's happening here. You know, this is spiritual energy that I'm working with. It's clearing my body. See, look, I'm moving my hands already. See, this is the kind of thing I was doing in my meditations. A lot of this. Um, I was fortunate. I was very fortunate. Plus, I had already started studying with the person who ended up being my mentor, taking tarot classes and going deeper into metaphysics too. So I was lucky, I think, compared to other people because I had a little taste of what can happen when somebody's Kundalini is awake, and a little taste, I would barely started, of learning about metaphysics. So I wasn't scared. And I would encourage anybody who's new to this, because I know some of the people at the summit are new, to relax into it and start. And as long as you have an intention, like being heart spaced, as long as you have intention, this is for my personal healing or something like that, right? You're going to be fine. Okay. You can even set the intentions, that, okay, this is like let's say it was me for my meditating. Okay, this is for my personal healing to help me shift energy that it no longer works for me and bring in more light. And I'm calling in all my guides, and you just make sure it's a nice circle and nothing else is allowed. And that's what intention is. It's setting up parameters. You're the boss.
Mhm.
Mhm. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I was curious because Andona mentioned that when she had started, there was a bit of a fear of what she was connecting to. And I am curious with the work that, especially when it first started, did you have any particular thoughts about what you were connecting to or who it was you might be communicating with when you were doing this work?
That might have come later, when people started questioning me, like, hey, could it be something like that? But when it first started, I knew exactly what it was. I knew my body was being cleared. I knew my energy was being balanced. I knew that, it was basically, my guides are saying it was a spiritual waste system. We're getting rid of the waste. Plus, it was interesting because, speaking of guides, I forgot about this, because when this would happen, you know, um, being tuned into the subtle energy takes a little practice. But I remember it felt like an angel was touching me right here. I mean, it was just the softest little touch when I was doing the light language. So I felt fine.
That's beautiful because I know a lot of people. So you have that guidance system. You have that spiritual team that you work with. So that's flowing in from your spiritual team. I'd asked the question because I was curious. The thought hadn't really crossed my mind. I was just God, universe, I work with angels and so forth. But a lot of people, they are in connection with the Arcturians, the Palladians, the Lyrians, the this, the that. And I just never really, I don't know, that was never something that was dropped into my head, like I am this or this is who you're connecting with. For me, it was just God, source, infinite intelligence, what have you.
There you
And
go.
that is all things, right? And anything that opens you up to whatever's for your highest and best and has the information that you need and can benefit from, that is the energy that's coming through. And so it's curious in those discussions because sometimes I think, well, that's a little bit different maybe from what the three of us might do, because then it's typically, oh, this is a message that's coming through from the Palladians, or this something for a specific purpose is coming through. And so I'm noting just the beautiful differentiations and the levels of the work that exist.
Thank
That's
you.
been my
I
experience.
I thank you so much for bringing this up because that's been kind of a struggle for me because I don't know how many of us are like that, like what you just said. Yes, people speak galactic languages. Yes, they're tuning into aspects of their soul. Okay. But what we're talking about is going even, for lack of a better word, higher, into higher frequencies. So we're bringing in this frequency, and yes, it's filtering through. It filters through the soul and all the personalities the soul has created, which would include galactic as well as terrestrial, right? So my feeling, and I know this is controversial, is that yes, there's galactic language. Is that necessarily light language? Well, you could say it's a form of light language, but I think there's lighter light language. And without trying, I don't want to offend anybody because the galactic people and channelers, a lot of times they're bringing in good information, but we're talking about frequency. Okay. I always describe light language as language before language. So how can a galactic language be language before language? It's language after language. So frequency, music, we're bringing music in. We're not bringing in a word that means this, that's left-brained, or a word that means this, or symbol that means this, or symbol has to be translated to that. No, we're just bringing in the music.
I remember having I'm sorry, I'm done.
That's okay.
I was just going to quickly, just based upon that, I just remember getting schooled by Elohim about light language at one point. And they were talking about that, like in my work, I'm bringing in heavenly signatures, right? The higher signatures. But they're like, there are all different streams and levels of light language. And so it was really, you said it so beautifully. And there was just so interesting. They're like, look at the door. And I'm like, it's a door. And they were like, but it can speak, the energies of that can speak light language. The energy of a tree can speak, you can connect, it can speak light language. And it's just really fascinating for me to just sit back and go, oh, okay, to kind of figure out and differentiate between everything that was coming in. Okay, I'm done.
I was just going to say that was a beautiful, beautiful visual of how the energies come in and how they can filter through the different aspects of self and be expressed by the many aspects of self. That's a great, fantastic definition and a beautiful way to articulate that so that the mind can wrap itself around around that. Now, with that understanding, how do you perceive that language from source as impacting the field? How do you feel that that language is working with the subtle bodies and all of those things? How do you feel that that language assisted in clearing out your body when you had that experience, when you first began to have that experience?
That is so funny because you're asking how. That's very left brain of you.
I know it is.
That's the empirical method and what I talked about earlier, the validity and the reliability and the replication. And I don't know how.
It just works.
Best way for it to be effective is to set an intention, like I mentioned earlier, and then let it go and trust.
I've just always been told to tell people, when they ask that question, that it's something that bypasses your mind, right? And it's something that speaks directly to the soul and the heart and your DNA and your crystalline aspects, right? That it's a frequency that is recognized because that is the highest frequency that's aligned with your true aspect, your God self, your soul self. And
Yes,
so
and for
that's
some people that could be galactic language. So I don't want to, make it sound like that doesn't work for people. Some people, the languages that they can identify as specific galactic really speak to their soul. So cool that that people are
and
resonating with that.
That's a good distinction to make because we come from the stars. I think we can all identify with some form of galactic connection. I mean, I can definitely connect with Sirian and Arcturian. And so that will come through when you are talking about a soul level. All of that we are and have been that's residing there can speak to us. Right? But I think that it's beginning from a higher source, and there's an opening or an allowing of that to open up within us. Does that make sense how I said that? Really?
To me, that was spot on.
Okay.
So until you're ready to open to something, a different frequency or a higher frequency, whatever you're connecting with at the highest level for you is just fine. There's no race to the finish. It's whatever you resonate with. So that's why it was so important for me to be working on myself in order to tap into that higher energy.
So how have you used your light language, or how do you use light language in the everyday to work with yourself and others?
Well, personally, I still do a lot of the singing and toning because it shifts so fast that way. And then I use light language now. I went from a card-carrying atheist to a Reiki master. And I definitely use it with Reiki, especially, and I'm going to say this, everybody's got certain things that come more easily to them than others, right? And I know some people do Reiki and they like to just be really soft and infuse, but I'm the one to go in and pull stuff out. I'm like this, right? And so if one thing I've noticed with energy that's in your body, sometimes it moves, it thinks it's fooled you. So, you're working on one area and you go, oh no, it just moved over here. So I've been in Reiki circles where I can kind of track where this little thing that needs to go is, right? And I've actually at Reiki circles pointed and yelled at things in light language to go. I'm like pointing them to the door. So once again, it's intention, right? Because sometimes it can be very gentle intention to, shift energy for people. And other times you have to get a little harsh with those little buggers. So yes, I use it for that. I have a light language drumming circle once a month where we get together and community drum, and we always set an intention, and then we start the beat, everyone follows it, and then I get up and sing in light language to match the intention. So we do that in a group as well. For people, I also offer the services of writing in light language. We didn't mention that yet, because I didn't think I could write in light language. I saw other people do these beautiful drawings and glyphs, go, hey, that's cool. Everybody's got a certain skill set. I'm obviously a singer. And then all of a sudden I was looking at other people's light language that they'd drawn the glyphs, and I went, what if I can do that? And see, boom, 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 that opens up the door, right? The what if. So I started writing in light language. I brought an example. So I used to have like pages and pages of paper that look like this. Okay, so some people might call that a galactic language, right? And then I decided, oh, well, my light language is developing. It took a while before, things started look unique to me. And then I started adding artwork to it. So it started with spirit guide drawings. Like, see, there's a bird I did, a songbird. You see all the glyphs around here and on the bird. Those are light language codes, even in the tree. And there's my lion. See, my lion's got light language right here. So those are energy signatures that augment. Remember, we're setting an intention. So the intention is to match the energy of the lion. This is a softer energy. I'd like to, use the energy of this songbird. So that developed into, I always liked getting spirit guide drawings from a friend of mine. And I went, I wonder if I can tap into people's spirit guides and put light language with their spirit guides. So may I have permission to show yours, Angela? Okay. So spirit guides show up in all different forms. It's energy with a personality. So sometimes they can be very serious. Sometimes they can be light. I've had spirit guides come through in drawings who are modern looking, I had an archangel show up in a t-shirt. Feel like that as the angel reader, right? I've had them very, ancient too. So I was lucky enough to drawing for Angela, and that's her guide, a Shoshone Native American. And there's tons and tons of light language here spinning. And in the chest plate as well. And then you can see, if you look really closely, these are light language codes along here. And I didn't know this about Angela. I had no idea, but she's very connected too. It turns out very connected energetically to Native Americans.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that when I started the drawing. So, there's a Tibetan monk. This is my cat in human form. Renaissance man. Looks like we've got a nature spirit here. Oh yeah, this guy feels very Viking to me, and this guy looks like he just stepped off a romance novel, and that was his personality. That's exactly what the guide was like. And okay, here's some angels for you. You'll enjoy that, right? So see all the light language coming from the heart? Yeah, so those are some examples that I've been doing. So I'll tune into people. I always ask for the guide most helpful at this moment in time to come through. And then all of those codes I add to match the energy of the guide. So sometimes if it's a calm and serious guide, they might not have a lot of light language. And usually it's coming straight down. And then if it's a little bit lighter guide, it will go in circles. So it's always interesting to see how that works too. So that's how I draw. We've been talking about me singing. Do you want to hear me sing? Okay. Do you either of you have an intention that you'd like me to sing?
Well, if you would like to, because then we can talk a little more afterwards. Would you like to go ahead and do your experiential demonstration for people? And then that way you can sing, you can do your whatever it is with light language that you would like to share. Mm-hmm. And also, if there's any preparatory type things that you would like our audience to do, like, to close your eyes or what have you, please do state that. prior. And I'm going to go ahead and pin you, and then I'll unpin you when you're complete.
Okay. Um, well, I always think an intention is important, so I would set the intention here of supporting the people who are exploring their light language, especially the people who are new, so they have the confidence to really feel into themselves here. Okay. Amasala mahale saru io no maru. Amaseya te ono mahamayo. Ahalea se ono malu. Hiseru no mahalana tarane. Isaru alasara nahaleo no malamayu. Ialo. Ialea no masa mahayo no malea ha malaneu. And all I'm hearing the guides saying for other people who are listening to this is reach. Keep on reaching, keep on reaching, keep on reaching. Karateo so sapas, anatera malateo sapas, ashala kara, aleo tota paranya, antakera maleoa.
Beautiful. The singing was absolutely beautiful. 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 It's so warm. It's like a warm blanket almost. Like you can just curl up in that energy and just feel so loved and so held and so soothed.
I felt it that same way. It was just this loving, caressing wave that came through, and it just spiraled down to my heart, and things dropped, and I just like relax, and I feel so not heavy, but heavy in a way that, for lack of a better term, like the weight of the world that I was holding, whatever that weight was, just swiftly drained away and just left me like, like grounded. I think that's really the only way to put it. It was beautiful and very just succinct and very pinpointed. I'm still up here somewhere. Very pinpointed with a clear intention. And what I like to call in my own word, like very prescriptive, right? That you could sense that that's the prescription. That's exactly what came through, and we are done, and and it closed, and it was just yeah, that to echo Andona,
Mm.
it was beautiful. That's the only word I can think of. It was beautiful. Yeah. How does that make you feel in the presentation of this work. How do you feel when you're bringing it through? How do you feel prior to bringing it through and to this moment upon completion? How do you feel in your body?
Um, there's virtually no prep work for me. So I just set the intention. I might take like a pause and then I just let it flow. And it's kind of funny because there's that cognitive part in your brain. It's like it's watching me sing. It's going, oh my gosh, look what's coming out of her mouth now. Oh wow, I didn't expect her to go to that note. Oh wow. So it's like I have a little spectator in my head. Or we set an intention, and sometimes it's a very strong song that comes out, and my brain's going, whoa, I didn't expect it to be that loud. It's like, so it's almost like I'm me and I'm not me at the same time. Good thing I'm a Gemini so I can handle it. Right. um, but I just go with it. And but here's the nice thing. It's kind of anybody who's a Reiki practitioner or energy healer knows that when you work on people, you get the benefits of the healing as well. So when I'm singing, it's raising my vibes too, based on that intention. So I come out of it feeling pretty darn good. Which is why I sing in the house all the time on my own. But as far as consciously preparing for it, I don't. It's just the intention, allowing, go, and trusting. And I think that's hard for us, especially people who are new to light language, because we're always going, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? Is it working? Is
Yeah.
it working? I've had to learn just like, you know what, this is the intention, this is the song that matches, done. So I think I
Yeah.
finally have learned I just have to give up worrying about the results and just trust that the right sounds are coming through.
I have the experience of singing and feeling the field, feeling distortions in the field. And I can feel it when I sing really soft. It's like drawing those out. It's like coaxing those blocks and those distortions out. And then I speak to them and then I can feel them bust themselves up. Do you have a similar experience?
I have a similar story, but it's interesting because as you develop your um, psychic skills, for lack of a better term, certain ones are more prevalent than others. And so I would go to these Reiki circles with a few people who are very, very tuned in and very clairvoyant. And clairvoyance is not my easiest, it's not my top skill. I'm very clairsentient, I'm a feeler. But at the Reiki circle, a clairvoyant person was watching me because he was part of the circle. And I was singing like a snake charmer. And I didn't know I was, but that's what he saw. I was used the word coaxing. I was coaxing the energy out. And he said it looked like snake, to him. And then I went like this with the light language. So I guess that would be similar to what you did, although I wasn't consciously aware of it. I was just doing my thing. But it was interesting to have an observer who's very psychic say, this is how I interpreted what you were doing. And you were actually charming something that didn't belong in that person out. And it didn't have a clue you were about to go.
That's exactly it. That's the exact sensation that I feel from time to time, especially when the singing comes on, and especially when the tones or the intensity of the song will shift. Yeah,
Mhm. Mhm.
interesting.
I am curious, Lola, because we hadn't asked this yet, but when we're talking about how you are so embodied in the work, I am curious how your friends or family acclimated or adjusted to the embodiment of this work that you are doing.
Oh, this is good for everyone to know. Okay. My brother and sister don't care. They don't talk about it. They don't want to know. They don't condemn it, but they won't even talk about it in conversation. So we don't. Okay, that's okay. That's not their gig. We're not a vibrational match on that. That doesn't mean they're doing anything bad or wrong. It doesn't mean I'm doing anything bad or wrong. It's just, when you're at a certain frequency and other people are a different frequency, sometimes it just doesn't mix. So but one of the things, because I was so scared to speak in light language, I was so scared to do it in public. And when my mom had a series of strokes, I was so afraid, but I wanted to do light language for her in the hospital. And I was so afraid to tell her because my mom was ultra Christian. And I thought she was going to think, oh, this is evil, or, demons are coming through her or whatever. And I just was like, oh my gosh, I was so scared to tell her. And she had a stroke. She couldn't even talk to me, she could shake her head yes or no, but she couldn't speak anymore. So it wasn't like she was going to out and out condemn me. I was so scared to tell my mom. And then finally, there's a zinger to this story too. Finally, I told her, hey, I have this gift. And for all she knew, I was still this empirical atheist, right? And it's like, I have this gift and I'd like to share it with you. And I have no idea how you'll react to it, but I sang her a song when she was in the hospital. And what was really funny, talk about vibrational match. When I was singing, there was an empty bed, 2 beds. They were bringing someone in and that person refused to go in the room. She wanted a different room. So I don't think she was the right match for what was going on there with the high vibe light language. She knew she didn't want to be in that room. That's the zinger. Yeah, at the topper. But my mom loved it. Because I could ask her yes or no questions and she loved it.
My daughter was a little bit like that. I remember there was a possum that got stuck on our pool drain thing and it had died. And so my husband's like, he comes to me because he knows I do this work, but he doesn't really want to. He's very supportive, and he knows I'm going to want to do something for the opossum, right? But he doesn't care what it is, yeah. So So I remember pulling it out, and then I was like giving it last rites or something. But in light language, there's this energy was flowing through, and I was speaking light language, and I hear my daughter run into the house. Daddy, mommy's speaking that weird language again. And I just heard my husband go, yep. That was it. It's so funny. That's just to say that you might have family members that don't condone it at all. You might have family members that want nothing to do with it, but they're fully supportive of your journey, But you might have family members and friends that are kind of sitting back to see what's happening, and you're really just a living example for them of what their life could be, and that works. So I
think that's the case for many of us. That's a consistent theme. That's been a consistent thing with many other speakers throughout the summit, is that the call is to walk in your authenticity, to own that, to be you, to have the courage to be you, because your family won't always be there to support you in what it is that you do, but there's some other aspect of you that knows that this is what is coming to this planet to do, and that you are here to anchor that, and it's safe to do that because there are others who are doing the very same thing, right, in their own ways.
And your word authenticity inspired me, because another thing people who are new to light language tend to do is compare what they're sounding like to someone else, especially an established light language person, right? And then they go, it doesn't sound like that. What am I doing wrong? You're not. It's your soul speaking through. It's your frequency speaking. It's your connection to the highest source speaking through you. You're the authentic you. Your resonance is going to be different from me. Your resonance is going to be different from the person riding the bus next to you. Your resonance is going to be different from your favorite spiritual mentor. Your resonance is going to be different from the nice clerk who checks out your groceries. So the fact that your light language can't match somebody else's should actually be a symbol of, hey, I am doing it right, rather than I'm doing it wrong. Because it's not about copying, it's about letting it come through you and flow like I did with my song.
Yeah, that's a beautiful uh, distinction to be made. That there is no, everybody has their own medicine and magic, and it comes through, though there might be a similarity, it's coming through you. So there's going to be a differentiation based upon your gifts, where it is that you come from, and all of that. And so you want to be your true and authentic self. And I think the key thing is for me, and I think everybody said this, there was a high level of trust that I just had to have in my guidance, right? And I've always trusted, and I've always just had faith, and whatever was requested, whatever came through, I would just allow it through fear. Even if there was fear, I would just be operating in fear. And when you get to the other side, and you're like, oh, I didn't die. Nothing bad happened, right? But I've always done it just because I've trusted. And I think with anything, not just speaking light language, we just really have to trust our own intuitive guidance, and we have to follow our own heart, and we just have to trust that we are being guided by our soul and whatever it is that we're doing in the direction that we're meant to go.
Now here's a question. How do you establish that trust? How does someone new step into a space of learning to trust that guidance, right?
That trust was not that difficult for me at the time, because I remember being a little girl. I've always been able to speak to spirits. I've been surrounded by angels the whole bit ever since I was a little girl. So it wasn't like some foreign thing that just opened up and happened upon me, right? So I've always had that connection. But for me, it was about seeking other people that had similar experiences to me, because it wasn't that long before I realized that my neighbors or my parents or my sister, whatever it was, weren't experiencing the things that I was experiencing. So at that point, I backed up a little bit and I didn't speak about it any longer. But I was seeking. I think it's really important for people just beginning to, if you're not trusting it, to seek out a group or seek out an individual that has the experience and that can share with you what is happening, and so forth. So that's where the trust comes. The trust comes with more understanding and a knowledge and acceptance and so forth of what's coming through. And I think that the more knowledge you have about what it is, maybe without defining it too much, I would add that in, but the more knowledge you have or understanding of what it is, the more you are capable of trusting it, right? So it's really about finding more information, not fearing what's happening, but going out and seeking and finding out more information about what it is that you're doing and how other people are experiencing it, and making connections in that way.
Oh dear, sorry. Phone string. And that's why this light language summit is so important. So that people can experience other people's styles of light language and go, oh, that's kind of like what I do. How cool is that? I found somebody who's similar to me. And that's why, remember I told you earlier, I went to Reverend Ava Marquez as one of my first mentors, the one who pushed me to sing in public. So the beauty of what we have right now as a collective is this, because we have community now that I didn't have in 2011 when I was trying to find other light language speakers and singers in Seattle. I didn't find them. But now that plus the fact that so many people are opening up to light language now. There was a time where, like I said, I was the only one that I knew doing it. And now I think at every Reiki circle I go to now, the majority of people are doing light language. So it's like we're all opening up to this gift. It's part of the shift into higher consciousness. And that's going to happen no matter what, because we're in the age of Aquarius now. So ride the tide and, start exploring with your light language. And the trust, I think, also comes from something I talked about earlier about you go ahead and set your own parameters. Call in your spirit guide team. Hey, make sure I'm safe while I'm doing this. Make sure there's no interlopers coming in, then you start to trust yourself more the more you do it and the more you feel like you've got a secure space.
Yeah, I just want to add it's all beautiful. Everything that you guys shared is all beautiful and spot on. The last thing I want to add is just that childlike wonder and curiosity, that willingness to just get out and explore and try things. Because remember, as a kid, you would get wind of a possibility and say to yourself, "Oh, I can do that." Or I'm willing to go try that out, have that willingness to just try some things out, just because you know that it is possible. Test it out for yourself, right? Have that courage. Yeah.
Just like when I decided I could draw after I went, what if I can? I was so sure I was not made to draw light language. I said, that's so wonderful. Other people do that. And if there's one thing I can share based on what you just said to everyone in your audience, it is, what if I can? That is the wonder of the child, or the Fool in the tarot cards.
I think that was kind of the driving force, because we're more mature, I would say, than a lot of people. But I remember when I was speaking light language and when I was a seeker, I grew up in a small town, and really all we had was church. We didn't have the internet even back right then, right? So, and it wasn't in the Encyclopedia Britannica. I was like trying to look up. But what was there, which was really funny, was about speaking in tongues and the Pentecostal church. And so at that point I was thinking, oh, I'm making that connection. I'm like speaking in tongues. And so my seeking journey went into like churches. Mm-hmm. Though I bounced from church to church to church until I found other things, because it was what I was seeking just wasn't there. There wasn't a resonance there. But now it's just, for our audience, it's just such a beautiful time to be alive, in that there's so many people waking up and there's so many opportunities now to connect with other people. And I think that's just a beautiful point to make. And I think this would be a great time for us to go ahead and flow into our Trinity light language dialogue. And I will go ahead and start first, and then Andona, and then Lola, you'll be third, and we'll just keep going through our Trinity. And it's so funny, we were focusing on intention, and the energy that came in, all I heard was heart opening. So that is our intention. Then. Uturis pututuire matrasi, nataye turono, Bituri sele no, turi siri no tu. Grispiria trutunuro spaiera cazzatondere surum, anatrore, kimina yondra spaiera tu tundre hind, ineture, kutushomoko yera masayeria takutre spaiana, atura mamaka ere tur. Anuri tu, bicchiere mananada cacciere, suro, asputre, bere macaera tandre tire. Anore turum tutro spaie, netore tutum sutre, misure no,
ko de asundroko me asua re sianda kai. Veo te cayendo sotrene avoru canietu merso de asian. Veuru cayana. Me raso de kai. Seren deo. Peraso. Terean. Deo. Veru dean. Seren dean. Sereo. Sereo, Sereo. De Sandu Alexandria. Miru kayende se terkoba uwa hia toko rushan. Miru si andra kaisia. Berandu a beran isho.
Asakara na cantoros. Amara na leo sontakara shala sera mateo contemporánea. Maya solo aleo, ala terra maya solo, contera malioso sepas. Montequero malaero malatio sonamasa sara. Oshala quiero malatio sonamasa sara. Christos, 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 Ashala quiero malatio sepas. Alatera, 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 alatera. Alamara, alamara, alamara. Ale, aleo toto paranya kayalata, seo topala. Itoronyo malateo sanamas. Ashala, 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 ashala. Ilara malateo sanamas. Ala, mara, ikoro, antequero maleo. Alatera mala.
Birikere tuorum, sayada baka ashura che tuotum, napa ero, oro kur kiern, ze tu ar, ne tu skun, na kuran, auro, que suchania, que tu anya, Gatus kurbur, na paer kursun, ko ore rire statjeren, så rapekaya manotore, o tore gersar, na tore gersar, nonde, gotur.
Moi tuori sudrevemo adia. Dasian uarveve tu scende che sutremea poru caiande satrucai. Mio ure caianda sar sutrevemo uadia san. Verushi tu sande cai sutrevemo curri veo tande sutratea. Ferrande e scendere cai matua. Verocava ue. Heba caia sisto tur ve omati. He baru kayenda satrame avuru kayenda satrukanda ve asande he rukadea verukadea asande asho muru sir que ve onde asandre ad marasi arke o hir que de badea meruta ne sotrame avuru kayenda sotrame atanda he rukayande ashad vuru kisia Mirukayande ashotreande kai murusiad verukandea sorukandea shotreve o mirukave anut hierasan mirukais vuruk etan soruk vead ashe so ashe.
Anasoma hala masarea no maho. Io no maha masala ne alo mai ho. Io sera ne ala te alate onomaso, alase alakumaharu, iulu, iulu mayo, iano mahamasa, maheo no mahamalea, amayu.
Biniskeri bekundras bayedetianda. Bakaturas titun mae. Sakaya momundura. Sacharo kunde. Chadbiketura nandere kuratus. Stapai kukujumu. Ne ele kuro sut. Ne ele kuro sutras nare tur. Tandere, tandagetur, satyekur, mapaere kishundres pitur, manamakore erekut, alur, kustur, niche teretun, makaeres tu, hau kukukimanye, tietunde, pikara tor.
Russia. Merres under veo magia, arcados andreatumat, barania sotreande cais. Dean, Verum dean, Furu, dean, Verum dean, Verum dean, Verum dean, Verum dean, Orosearean, Hirin dean, Verum dean, Verum dean, Forum dean, Serum dean, Seran dean, Zero dean, Horuserian deam, Sirion dean, pero dean, Seru dean, Zero dean, Seru dean.
Shalakero malaseo to paranya akara maseo sontakara rasa teo sola teo contero mayo sushala sareo te tono contero mayana io tero mahayo sontakero mayola tasha esse tara makeo cantero maleo son te quiero maya solo tero mala sashala ilo anteo koto paranya te oto para ashala isala tokohono ante quiero meha isala te oto ho aleoto ho maleo no son cantero Aleo te soto coro, mira a teo tono amara na cantara ne teo, iala sala ara.
Ondoren bisuteron no, gotori ondoren esete oro, corono mitene, tute sore si notre no, notre no. We are complete. What was your experience with this dialogue, dear ones? The energies feel so like we brought something in, and it's almost like, I want to say a cloud bank, but that's the only thing. It's like this energy that's just descended, that we are just within, seated within. It's hard to speak.
Right. Heart opening, like waves and waves and waves coming from the heart, right? Just sending and receiving from that heart space. That's the best way I can articulate that. It's like ocean waves, but just coming, emanating from the heart and then being received back into the heart. Just this loop that's just delicious and and fantastic. It's just blissful, right? It's such a blissful feeling. It's hard to articulate in words. What are words right now, right?
Well, my heart feels very expansive. It's like a wheel turning around and around and
Yes.
around, which, you know what is also great? I feel tickle in my throat. So I hope this is activating people's ability to touch their hearts in order to bring their sounds out, because I feel the tickles. I'm hoping that's good. That's what's going to happen for the people who watch this. Heart space, little tickle in your throat makes you want to express. You feel safe. They're connected. The chakras are connecting.
Right.
I was feeling that as well when I began and pass it on. I was feeling that the heart energy began to open, but I was feeling this energy come up into the throat. And part
Yeah.
of that was, I think, just, a lot of people say the throat chakra is just being, have a willingness to speak your truth. But I think that it's in alignment with that of allowing your true authentic form of expression to come up and forward.
Mm,
And, I felt that for myself as if something was opening even further or clearing. Yeah.
mm, yeah.
And that brings up a point, with the throat chakra. It isn't always about speaking words of
It's
power,
not.
which is good. It's very good.
Yeah.
But just humming, just getting used to bringing that vibration up and just free form humming. That is light language, guys.
Mhm.
I used to call when I sang, I would tell people I call it soul scatting, scatting in jazz, right? So that's just someone going free form and just letting the sounds out. And that's how I started. And I hope that this feeling of opening the heart space and that tickle in the throat allows people to just experiment and let the sounds out and feel them in your body. They're going to feel different what you're saying. You're going to, yeah. So yeah, people do some soul scatting.
Right. And that throat chakra, my guides call that the expression center because it's more than just about the words that you speak or the sound that comes out. It's about your overall beingness, your willingness to settle in and walk in your true, authentic beingness, right?
Yeah,
The
because
ability to exist within that space.
that's where you actually make your declarations.
Yeah.
You think them up here, but then you need to speak them because that's what invocation means, right? Because voce,
Yeah.
voice, invoke.
Yeah.
So even just by saying out loud what your intentions are, even if you're using your cognition, when you're speaking them, it allows that throat chakra to open and then start trusting, the random sounds that come out too. I kind of blew someone's mind once. I got interviewed on the radio about light language because I knew him and I knew he had 2 children. I said, did when you kids were growing up and they're just babbling and they're making noises, did it ever occur to you that maybe they're not trying to copy what you're saying? Maybe they're regulating their bodies with light language? All that billing and cooing might not be because they're trying to copy you, might because they're just working on their own systems.
Right. My son used to do that when he was about 2, 3, something somewhere in there. He would do that, but I wasn't conscious. I wasn't aware of what light language was at the time. I figured he brought something in from a past life and he was remembering a language from a past life, which may be accurate in a sense, right? But yeah, he was totally doing that as a kid.
Well, this was absolutely beautiful. I have that wonderful feeling of just sitting with the tribe in the evening with a fire going in the center of a circle and nobody wanting to leave. That's just beautiful feeling. So, Lola, what is one thing that you would like to, and then I'll let you say whatever you're going to say, but also share with us one thing that you would like to leave our audience with?
I think it's been the topic of the day, set an intention and trust yourself. Because if you don't start playing with the sounds, you're not going to experience the shifts in your body.
Yeah. And so where can people get in touch with you and connect if they're interested in your services or your offerings?
Okay. My business is called Light Language Arts, but nobody could remember that. So my website is very direct. It's my name, www.lolasinger.com. And I'm on Facebook as Lola Singer. And then I'm also in Light Language Arts on Facebook. That's how I connected with Angela. We found each other somehow on Facebook. I'm on TikTok as well. And if you live in Western Washington, I'm a regular at Psychic Fairs in Skagit County. And I do the drumming circle once a month in Stanwood, Washington. So if anybody in your audience happens to be in Western Washington, they can inquire about that too. I can do spirit guide drawings. I can do sessions. I can do light language. I can do Reiki, all of it online as well as in person. But it's, if you happen to be in Western Washington, you might want to check out. I'm at a store called Mystical Wares in Mount Vernon, Washington. I'm there every Friday. And then they have every 2 weeks a metaphysical fair where I'll be with other magical people as well. So just want to put a plug out for them because they've been very supportive of what I do.
Well, beautiful. It has been absolutely wonderful to get to meet you and to share and just to hear about what it is that you are doing in the world and what it is that you are sharing. And I've just thoroughly enjoyed having you here in our Light Language Summit. Did you want to share something?
Um,
Yeah.
Thank you, Lola, for agreeing to partner with us in this magical space, in this sacred space. It's been a beautiful experience getting to know a little bit more about you. And I'm so happy that everyone else gets to learn a bit more about you as well. It's been fantastic. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. And the one thing I did want to say was earlier when you guys were speaking in light language, I kept seeing like a dark space with priestesses. And I feel like we've done this together before. Did you guys feel that way too? Like
Yeah.
there's a sisterhood here that's
Yeah.
tapping into. And that's, I just got chills when I said that. But the exciting thing is, maybe some of these people who attend the Light Language Summit are going to find that kind of connection, not only with us, but maybe with other people from the summit. So, keep watching, keep listening, find out if there's like somebody's light language that really resonates with you, kind of feeling to try to get out of the head and into that heart space we just opened up and kind of feel like, hey, do you think there's an ancient connection here? Do you think I'm resonating with this person for a reason? And that's part of the fun too. Yeah, because I feel like you're my sisters.
Well, flowing with the essence of sisterhood, we're going to say goodbye for now, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
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 Tu se vedre, caira batu suere matre spura, tacerente, Pirica tutte le spagna la gente, su cui amatoscia, te pacutro spira tu, ancora. Continua ma sulla ieri siria, te pacutro spagna, te tu.
This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Access information, education, and videos on living from the heart in unity consciousness. Visit newearth1.com.